everyone, this is Karen. I hope you guys are having a great morning. I'm really excited to be here with you and talk to you about the Mystery Crochet Along that starts today. If you're following me right now, hi Linda, it's good to see you. And Brad is up here too, yay. If you are a part of the Mystery Crochet Along, I want to make sure that everybody knows that you have to be a part of the forum to get the clues. So make sure you got your facts sheet that I sent out to everyone who registered. If you did not, and there are quite a few who have not registered for the forum, if you did not get this, shoot me an email because all the instructions are here on this form, and it tells you everything you need to know to be able to participate and get the clues. And I don't want anybody who registered not to be able to participate in whatever way they want to. So that's really important to me. I just wanted to get that out there up front. So how is everybody today? Like I said in the chat room, I have been dealing with a cold for the last few days. I'm actually starting to feel better. It's all in my head right now and a little bit of a cough. So my voice might come and go through this whole thing. So just so you know. So does everybody here participating in the Mystery Crochet Along? Linda, I believe you are in the group, and I did drop the first clue this morning. It's already there if you haven't been to the forum yet. I have the pattern here, and I'm going to go ahead and I am going to show you what I'm going to do. The original pattern was done in lace weight, and I can't show you the original, first of all, because it's with my photographer, so that the final pattern can be produced. Oh, good, yay, Lynn. Awesome. So the final pattern can be produced. So that's at the photographer. So I can't show you the final image or the final shawl anyway, but also I don't want you to see it until we get the fourth clue dropped and you guys know basically what it's going to look like. So, but each week you're going to get a clue that has some instructions and a chart. So we can work with us. And again, I use lace weight, but for this shawl, I am going to use fingering weight. And these are the colors I'm going to use. I'm going to start with the blue. I'm going to go to the purple next week when I drop the second clue. Third week, I'm going to do the pink. And then I haven't decided which color, if I'm going to continue with the pink for 4, or if I'm going to use one of the other colors. It'll depend on how everything looks. So for those of you who are using a fingering weight, because the gauge is going to be a little bit different, you can choose to try to get gauge with the fingering weight. I think with fingering weight, you could do it. I am not going to go that route. I am just going to let the hook tell me what it's going to do. I know that for myself, I like to use a size E, which is a 3.5 with fingering weight. That's usually my sweet spot with fingering weight and shawls. So I'm going to just go with my gut and use the hook I want, with the colors, the order I want, and just let gauge do whatever it wants to do. If you want the exact size shawl, with fingering weight, you should be able to get gauge. It might take you a little bit of playing, depending on if you're a loose or a tight crocheter, but don't stress about it. The nice thing with shawls is, although I'm always telling everyone gauge is king, shawls are not like a sweater that has to fit exactly the person. You know, if you make a cardigan that's too big, it's going to look sloppy on a person. If it's too tight, it's going to be hard to wear, you know, that kind of thing. So with a shawl, if it's a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, that might be what you want. And it might be you know, not worth worrying about the gauge, especially if you're going to use a heavier weight yarn. So that's my caveat for using another weight. Now, however, the other thing with changing the weight is the yardage is going to change. And one of the things that this is going to tell me here is if I'm going to have enough yardage to do this. I believe I have about 400, 500 yards more than I mentioned in the pattern. So I should, if gauge is true for what my crocheting is, I should have enough and a little bit left over. But, you know, that's not always a guarantee because our tension changes as we work. I usually try to do things all at once so that, you know, like I'll try to get all of clue 1 done today or by the end of tomorrow for sure, so that next week when I start clue number 2, even if my gauge changes slightly, because blocking is key, if my gauge changes slightly, I know the first clue is going to be pretty much the same gauge. Does that make sense? If I use an E-hook like you, should I order another skein of fingering weight? I have 1,314 yards. Let's do clue number 1 to see where you're at before you actually go and order another skein. I would wait until you finish clue 1 because I know the yardage here that I've given is actually 10% more than what I actually used. So I always increase everything by 10% in all of my patterns to make sure for gauge issues that you have at least what should be enough. So does that make sense, Linda? I'm gonna wait here for a second. While I'm waiting, I'm gonna go ahead and put a slip knot on my hook. I really like this yarn. This is Araucana Huasco fingering weight. Okay, good, Linda. I'm glad that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start with the blue. I always leave, one of the things I talk about in my live classes, and I don't do this a lot when I'm writing patterns or anything, so might as well give you a little bit of a lesson on how I was taught to crochet. And one of the things my grandmother taught me is knots are not allowed in crochet. Well, actually, there's 2 knots that are allowed in crochet. The first one is the slip knot, and the second one is when you fasten off at the end, whether at the end of the project or the end of the piece or whatever. When you're changing colors, we never knot the yarn. And that has served me well over the years. I know a lot of people like to make a knot when they add the different colors together or something like that. And there are times when I will use like a Russian knot or a magic knot to join different colors. Like I have a pattern coming out in October that has multiple mini skeins in it. And so what I did was I did do a magic knot to join the colors so the colors change smoothly. And those seem to be okay. But a traditional tied knot at the ends of rows and things, I had a student way back when I was first starting to teach who did a beautiful Afghan that was all colors changing and beautiful. And the first time she washed it, and now this may not be, if you have a front load washer, this may not be a problem, but she put it in the washing machine and the agitator caught a few of the knots and it yanked everything off and it totally destroyed the Afghan. So that's my rule of thumb, is don't put any knots in. So the first thing you do is I always do a slip knot and I leave about a 4 to 6 inch tail to weave in my ends. By leaving such a long tail allows me to have more yarn to weave in and less chance of the fabric or the knot. I'm sorry, my brain is still a little foggy. You guys could probably tell. Less chance of the tail coming out in the wash and with use of your shawl. Okay, Linda's asking me, will gauge be the same in fingering weight as in lace weight? Not necessarily. That is up to you. You can try to get the same gauge I have. But you may not like the drape because fingering is a little bit bigger, thicker, more bulky yarn, and it may not drape well. I know for the way I crochet, an E-hook and the fingering weight is going to give me a little bit bigger fabric. I know my shawl is going to be a little bit bigger, and that's okay with me. I mean, I like a little bit more fabric with my shawls. So it's up to you. You can try to get the same gauge, or you don't have to. Okay. Okay, so got my tail, got my yarn. I'm a knife crocheter, so I don't know if some of you who may have seen me teach live know that I hold my hook as a knife holder. I also do hold sometimes like this as a pencil. This is the way my grandmother taught me to crochet, but I am more comfortable with a knife hold. So I'm just going to go right through the pattern. I'm going to try to get through the first 6 rows just so you guys can kind of see the beginning of the shawl. And if you're crocheting along with me, I would definitely, just let me know if there's a question you have in the pattern, or if you want to see something up close, let me know and I'll put it up closer to the screen. But we're going to start with row 1. And in the pattern notes, one of the things it says is the chain 3 at the beginning of each row counts as a double crochet. So when I have the row counts at the end of each row, that chain 3 counts as a stitch. And then you're going to sort your colors. Those are the notes that I have in there. You can decide how you want to do it. I only have 3 colors. I know some of you, excuse me. Hi, Martha. I was just about getting started on working on the Mystery Crochet Along shawl. And excuse my coughing. This is the tail end of a cold. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I only have 3 colors. Some of you have just 1 color. Some of you have 2 colors. You can decide. Just because the original had 4 colors, I did that so that in my own mind and in the pattern writing and in being able to break things out, I had color blocks to look at. You don't have to do that. You can have 1 color. You can have 5 colors. You can stripe it if you wanted to. It's up to you what you want to do with the shawl. I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with. So Martha, busy with distant learning with the kindergarten. Oh, I don't envy you, Martha. I am so grateful right now that I don't have kids in school. My son is a school teacher. Today is his first day of school. Or no, tomorrow's his first day of school. And just listening to him stress about the teaching, I can't even imagine being a parent on the other end. So kudos to you. My hat goes out to you. My heart goes out to you. That all goes well. Okay, so with color A, we're going to chain 4. Okay, and then we're going to double crochet, chain 1 4 times in the, wait a minute, did I? Chain 1, yeah. Double crochet, chain 1 4 times. You can tell it's been a little while since I've done this pattern, so this is actually good for me to do on mine. Okay, 3 and 4. And then you're gonna, and then do 2 more double crochets at the end of that. So you should have a total of 7 double crochets in the first row. So I'm going to count those just to make sure I didn't miss because I was talking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I'm going to turn it so the right side's facing you. Very small. I don't know if my camera is going to focus in on that, but you're going to have like 2 double crochets on either end, and then you're going to have 4 chain 1 spaces with 3 double crochets in between those chain 4 spaces. So that's a total of 7 double crochets. Okay, so row 2, chain 3 and turn. And remember I said that the chain 3 at the beginning of the row counts as a double crochet. And then you're going to double crochet in the first double crochet. So normally on a double crochet row, you skip the first double crochet, but because this is a shawl and we need to increase, you're going to not skip the first one. So you're always going to have 2 double crochets at one end and 2 double crochets at the other, no spaces or anything, because that's the increases at the end of the shawl. Okay, so we're going to double crochet in the first stitch. Then chain 1, double crochet in each double crochet, and oh, I forgot before I started row 2, I have a note here to place the marker in the 4th center double crochet and move the marker up with each row. Now, I put that note in there because a lot of people struggle with finding the center, and I want to make sure that they know exactly where the center is so that as the shawl progresses, they always know where the center, the marked stitches. I don't always do that because I'm designing the pattern, so I kind of know where the center is, first of all, and then secondly, it's because I've been doing this for so long. I can read my own work, I guess is the best way to do it. 40 plus years of crocheting, you kind of know what you're doing and what you're looking for, and that's how I do it. I may end up putting a marker as we go up a couple rows just to keep my own sanity in check as I'm talking to you guys. But make sure you post if I'm saying anything that doesn't make sense to you. Make sure you post in the comments. I'm going to check them from time to time. And I just saw that Martha wrote, I know that my 2 nephews caused my sister. There are my 2 nephews because my sister is on the other end of teaching kindergarten here at the same time. So you're helping her. Oh my gosh, there's so much stress. I can't even imagine teaching kindergarten online. They're so tactile. Even teaching crochet classes is very difficult for me online because I know that a lot of times I want to see what you guys are doing. And even with the Zoom classes I've already taught, and I'll be teaching another Zoom class this month. In fact, I'll talk about that at the end of the video. Don't let me forget if I don't mention it before I go. But I can see your work if you hold it up, but sometimes I need to physically hold it in my hand, be able to see what's going on. So I can't even imagine what kindergartners are doing. Okay, so round 2, or row 2, I double crocheted in the first double crochet. I've already chained 1, and then I'm going to double crochet in each double crochet and each chain 1 space to the marked stitch, which is the center one. So now there's not going to be any chain spaces at all. I just did that to give a little lace at the top. Okay, so now I'm at the marked stitch. I'm going to chain 1 first. I'm going to double crochet in that center stitch. And then I'm going to chain 1 again. And then I'm going to do exactly the opposite of what I did on the other side, which is to double crochet in each chain 1 space, because the next stitch is a chain 1, and every double crochet across to the last stitch, which is actually the turning chain of row 1. And in that stitch, you're going to do 2 double crochets, because remember I talked about at the beginning, there are 2 stitches at either end for every row to help with the increasing. Okay, and for some reason, it's not letting me get my hook in there. It's probably because I'm talking. There we go. 1, 2. Okay, so I'm going to take my hook out. Now we should have 4 double crochets between the chain 1 spaces on each diagonal end. So if you're looking at the sample, this is a diagonal end and this is a diagonal end. And remember, there's 2 stitches and then there's a chain 1 space. And then in the center, you have a double crochet with a chain 1 on either side. So on this side here, there's a chain 1 there and a chain 1 there, and there should be 4 double crochets between them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the same thing here. Here's the chain 1 space. Here's the chain 1 space. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That's fine, Martha. I know it's difficult when you've got students, so definitely watch the replay later. I'm sorry that it's at a bad time for you. I might do, with the crochet along, if you're doing the crochet along, I might be doing some Zoom calls if people are struggling. So I just wanted to be sure you guys had a little bit of something to get started with too. Okay, so row 3. Row 3 and 4 is actually a repeat of row 2. So basically you're gonna double crochet, chain 3, turn, double crochet in the first stitch, chain 1, excuse me, and then double crochet in every double crochet and chain 1 space to the next marked stitch. Yeah, did I totally missed something there? Yes, I did. Okay. All right, and because I'm talking, I didn't chain 1 when I was supposed to chain 1 on the previous row, and I was wondering why I wasn't seeing it. There we go. Now we got the chain 1 in there. Okay, there we go. Now I can do row 3. So chain 3 and turn. Now sometimes you'll notice in my patterns that I'll chain 2 on some rows and I'll chain 3 on some rows as the turning chain for a double crochet. And there's a couple reasons why I do that differently. Sometimes when I'm working with lace weight yarns, I definitely need the chain 3. I mean, that just seems to be, I forgot to chain 1 again. Excuse me, guys. I might have to cut this short. The reason with lace weight, I always do a chain 3 when I turn for double crochet rows, just because of how light the yarn is. But with fingering weight, sometimes I will do a chain 2 instead of a chain 3. And the reason I do that is because either I want to have a little bit of it kind of gives a bumpy edge, and I kind of like that as a finishing if I'm not gonna put an edging on it. So like for a shawl, you know, I like kind of having, I don't ever edge the top edge of my shawl. So that gives me kind of some interest. It also helps me with certain stitches. I want to keep them short, the double crochet shorter. It just helps with, especially if I'm doing lace work, certain lace work that for myself, the way I crochet, sometimes I really get going with my double crochets, and then all of a sudden my double crochets are taller than everything else in the lace work. So by doing that chain 2, it helps remind me that I need to keep those double crochets a little bit tighter in height, if that makes sense. So there's 2 reasons why I do that. Okay, so on row 3, I'm at the end of the first diagonal, and remember the center stitch, the center is always going to be a chain 1, a double crochet in the center chain, the center stitch, and then a chain 1 again. And that's how I am able to see that center spine, is that it's only going to be a single double crochet with a chain 1 on either side. So here we go. If you look at that, here's all these double crochets. There's a chain 1 there, and there's a chain 1 there. And row 3 should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 double crochets, correct. So 7 double crochets in between the spine, or on each diagonal before the spine, I should say. So let me get row 3, and then on row 4, we should have 10. Awesome, Martha. I'm glad you were able to drop in for a little bit. Does anybody have any questions for me while I'm doing this? I know I'm doing a lot of talking and a lot of crocheting. Excuse me. Working into the turning chain, it doesn't matter what yarn you're using, what hook size you're using. For some reason, I have trouble getting into that turning chain every single time. So, okay, so that's row 3. So far it's just plain double crochet fabric with a little bit of eyelets, you know, at the spine and at either end. Does that make sense? You're printing off the pattern now. Okay. Awesome. Okay, because I think I'm going to be able to get through row 6 because row 5 and 6 are the repeat rows for this particular pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and get row 4 done. Might take me a second just to keep going here. But now with this pattern too, if you've been on as part of my Mystery Crochet Alongs in the past, I always start clue number 1 with something relatively simple. I do that on purpose because I don't want beginners to feel like they can't do my Mystery Crochet Alongs. I want them to be able to start. I want them to learn something new, maybe while they're working on the shawl, the very first clue. But as I go through each progression or each clue of the shawl, it progressively gets a little more interesting. I don't want to sell it complicated. I try to add something that's unique. It still might be simple for the most advanced crocheters. It might be, you know, clue 2 might be a little more on the simple side for them. But as they get to the clue 4, they should notice a progression of how things are getting a little more interesting. You know, things change. The way I put the stitches together or the stitch pattern I'm using will give you something a little different. And I'm hoping that with my Mystery Crochet Alongs, my big thing is that I want everybody to learn a little bit of something. That doesn't always happen with my advanced crocheters, and I know that. But I think my beginners and my intermediates for sure are learning little tidbits. And that's why I kind of wanted to do this video this time too, is I haven't been able to teach online live for the other ones. And I thought this is a great way for you guys to see what my teachings, how I teach. It's a little different talking to a camera, knowing you're all there and you can't get your feedback right away. Sorry, guys. But it helps me also helps me show you what I'm thinking as I'm doing my patterns. And then share my teaching style as well, because I am going to be offering more online classes this year. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So let me finish row 4 here. And then we'll make sure my stitch counts are right when I get to the end of the row. Almost there. I really like this yarn so far. Again, it's Araucana Huasco sock. It's a merino, oh, I can't remember. A merino nylon blend, I believe. Can't see. Yeah, oh no, it's 100% wool. Never mind. It's a superwash wool. Okay, so two more stitches here. Get those last double crochets in here. Again, the churning chain is going to give me some fits for that first stitch. There we go. Okay, so row 4 should have 10 double crochets between this chain 1 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So even though I design, and I actually designed this pattern, I still have to go back and count. That's just, just the nature of crochet. Even with my own patterns, especially since there's been a bit of time, it's been about a month and a half, 2 months since I actually finished this pattern. Maybe more than that, because I think I finished it when we first moved here. So yeah, so roughly in that range, 2 months, maybe a little more. So my memory isn't because I've done several projects since. So my memory isn't going to be as sharp as it was if I had just finished the pattern. So stitch counts are important to keep track of. Hang on a second, I need some coffee here. We are also starting to have fires in our area. I know a lot of the country has been under a lot of fires, especially California and some other places east of us. But last night I just got word that there was a fire just about, I don't know, maybe an hour southwest of us. And I'm just noticing now that there's smoke in the air. And I think that might be what's also making this a little hard on me. Being a severe asthmatic with smoke is not easy either. Okay, so I have my 10 stitches on either side, and we are in row 5, which if you look at the chart, it'll also tell you that rows 5 and 6, as well as the repeats after row 6, rows 5 and 6 are what you're going to repeat from now on. And I do give you the final counts for row 36 at the end, so that you know what your stitches should be when you finish row 36. So row 5. Oh gosh, guys. Okay, I want to try to get through this without too much. So row 5 says chain 3 and turn, and double crochet in that first double crochet. Then it says double crochet in the next double crochet and in next chain 1 space. So you're going to have 4 double crochets all next to each other right here. Then it says chain 1, and I lost my loop there. Chain 1, skip the first double crochet, and then, or skip next double crochet in the next. So double crochet in the next. And then this has the repeat from asterisk to next chain 1 space. So I'm just going to do chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. One of these days, I'm going to figure out how to get 2 cameras going on YouTube. I know how to do it on Zoom. I haven't been able to figure it out for YouTube, but at some point I will. And then that way I would be able to have you focus on my hands as I'm talking to you. And I'll still have a little small picture of my face. But for right now, unfortunately, I can't do that. I haven't figured it out yet. So, so here at the beginning are the 4 double crochets, and then here are the chain 1 spaces. So you get kind of an eyelet going on this row. And I've done that all the way to that next chain 1 space. So the last double crochet is in the last double crochet before the center. So then it says double crochet in the next chain 1 space. And then we're going to do our center. And our center, again, is chain 1, double crochet in that center chain. Or that's that center double crochet, sorry. And then chain 1. And then you're going to double crochet in the next chain 1 space, double crochet in the first double crochet there, and then you're going to chain one, skip one, double crochet all the way down until you get to the next chain one space. Do that. Oops, didn't skip. And I'm right-handed. I don't know if you see me as crocheting right-handed or if you see me crocheting as left-handed. I don't know if the screen is reversing me or not. So if you're a lefty and you see it the direction you usually crochet, that might be a good thing. Okay, so I've done that until the next chain one space. So I've already got a chain one on my hook here. Did I do that right? Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to double crochet in the chain one space, and then I'm going to double crochet in the next double crochet, and then I'm going to do 2 double crochets in the turning chain for that increase. So now, as I flip this so you can see what I just did, I have all these little eyelets on either side. I've got the center spine. You should start to see the center spine. Can you see that there? And then here's your edges, and you'll notice it's curving. It's kind of wanting to curl on me, and that's normal for something this small. I'm trying to get my fingers out of the way here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. But that's what it should look like so far. It's not quite a perfect triangle yet, but it's getting there. And that's because of the way I'm increasing. So it's not going to be a perfect, what is it? I can't even remember from math, but all the sides are the same. That's not going to happen with this shawl. It's going to be triangular, but it's not going to be a perfect, is it isosceles? No, isosceles. I can't remember the name of the triangle. Okay, but that's row 5. So at the end of row 5, you should have 7 chain one spaces and 10 double crochets along each diagonal edge. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's an error. Let me see if I've got 4. Okay, so that I'm going to have you guys write this down, and I'm going to put this in the forum. I just found an error. It should be 6 chain one spaces, not 7. And let me just look at that. Oh no, there are 7. There are 7. I miscounted, and that's right. That's why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, I forgot to chain 1 on this end. I chained 1 on this end, and I forgot to chain 1 on this end. So yes, there are 7 chain one spaces. So I was wrong. I forgot to do that. So we're good. We are good. All right, so row 6 is a repeat row 2. So you're going to chain 3, and you're going to turn, and then you're going to double crochet in the first double crochet. You're going to chain 1, because we're always going to have 2 double crochets and a chain 1 at either end. And that's what I forgot on this one. Okay, so then you're going to double crochet each double crochet and chain 1 space across. Oh, equilateral triangle. I think you're right, Linda. I think that's what it's called, an equilateral triangle. It's been a long time since I've taken geometry. And a long time since my kids were in geometry. And it's funny because I use a lot of those formulas for different things that I design, but I have the formula because I know what I want it to do, but I forget the names of what they are. So this one's just exactly like row 2, where you're just going to get all solid double crochets across. except for at the center, you're going to have the chain 1, double crochet in the center, chain 1, and then double crochet across to the last chain 1 space. And you're going to double crochet in each chain 1 and in each double crochet. That's right. Oh, good thing I looked, because I just made a boo-boo right there. Got to go back and do that. Talking and crocheting is not easy. And yes, I do crochet fast. I remember when my grandmother, who taught me to crochet, she used to slap my wrist because I would hold my hook like this, and she always told me proper Italian girls hold their hooks like pencils. And so if I was crocheting like this, she'd slap my hand and make me do this. So I can crochet both ways. I'm so much slower. I'm going to show you that right now. A pencil hold makes me so much slower because I do it to help my wrists, but it's not always effective for me. So one day after my grandmother had passed away, my grandfather was in a convalescent hospital, and I went to go see him. And I had brought my crochet. I don't know what I was working on, probably a blanket at that point, because my cousins were all having babies. And he was talking, and I was talking, and I was crocheting along, and he looked at me. All of a sudden, he just stopped talking, and I'm crocheting, and then finally I look up at him, and he's staring at my hands. And I know he watched my nonna smack my hands when I didn't do things properly. And so he looked at me and he goes, "You are so much faster than your nonna." And I looked at him and I said, "That's because I'm allowed to hold the hook the way I wanted to all these years." And he couldn't believe how much faster I was than my grandmother. And my grandmother was fast for a pencil holder. She was very, very fast. Okay, that is row 6. So from here on out, I know. If you ever read the story of my grandmother grew up in an affluent Italian family back in Italy. So there were little quirks about her that, proper Italian girls, all crochet. The girls learned to crochet in Italy, and they all held it like a pencil. So I guess I'm an improper Italian girl too. But anyway, so here's row 5 with eyelets. Here's row 6. It looks just like these other rows 3 and 4 that we just did, 2, 3, and 4. So from now on, every other row is going to have eyelets. So you're going to have 7 is going to be just like row 5, just more stitches. And then 6 is going to be solid rows. So you're going to do that for 36 rows. So I'm just going to do my final count here and make sure I should have 16 double crochets between the chain 1 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16. Yep. Okay. So for those of you who are thinking that you need to have a marker in the center, there you go. I'm going to put the marker right there, and then I'm going to show it to you guys. I don't know how well that's going to show, but that's my spine. You can see my spine coming up right here. On either side of the spine, there's going to be a chain 1 space. So you're going to have this little bit of lace coming through down the center of the spine. So if you're finding that the spine suddenly gets lost, you forgot to put in a chain 1 space, the spine. But that's the start. So does anybody have any questions for me? I know you guys have all been pretty silent for the most part on asking me questions while I was crocheting. Anybody have any questions about it? I know, like I said, it should be pretty simple. to start with. But I'm excited to see. So if you're on the forums, make sure you post your progress as you go. I'm going to go in. After I shut off this, I'm going to go in and post a picture of what I just crocheted, just so people can see I've already started. I'll probably get it done tonight because it's fairly simple and fast to do. And I can sit in front of the TV tonight with my husband, and while we're watching TV, I probably can knock out the entire 36 rows. So that's where I'm at. Anybody have any questions? My voice is starting to go, but I did want to, before I get offline, I want to let everybody know that I am teaching an online class this month. It's my cuff down socks the crochet way. Here's a sample of the socks. They're obviously cuffed down. It is going to be a 6-hour class broken up into 4 weeks. So you're going to have 90-minute classes every Saturday starting from September 12th. And so we'll have a 90-minute class. It'll be a Zoom class. And then I'm doing 2 hours of office hours in between the class sessions where you can just drop in and ask me a question if you have a question about each week. And one will be in the daytime and one will be at the nighttime, so I can cover the bases of, people who are working during the day, during the week. I will talk to you. Let me answer your question, Linda, in just a second. The way it's going to be broken up is the first week we're going to learn how to measure our feet, and we're going to talk about gauge, and we're going to do the cuff and the leg. The second week is all about the heels, because the heels are where people struggle. That's all I can say, is they struggle with the heel. I'm going to show you how I do my heels. Excuse me. So you're going to do the heel and the heel turn the second week. And then the third week, we're going to do the gusset, which is where we start decreasing here. Usually when you buy store-bought socks, you see a line right here. That's the gusset. And then the foot. And then week 4 is the toe. And so I'm also going to talk about, little strategies about how to reinforce your heels and your toes. I'm going to talk about making sure you have enough yarn. We're going to talk about stitch patterns and why I use what I use for stitches. And if we have extra time, not 100% sure that we will based on the numbers of the class, but I might teach you an alternative heel that's a little tougher than the regular heel for some people. So if we have time, that's what we're going to do. Now, the class itself is not through me. It's actually through my old local yarn shop. I mean, I still consider her my local yarn shop because I do still do a lot for her. It's Stilly River Yarns in Stanwood, Washington. It's going where she is promoting the class, or we're doing it for her shop. She has a webpage, and I will put it in the show notes as well as in the blog post that I will do with the link to this video. The class, she's doing a pay-as-you-go kind of thing, where she's got 3 different prices. I think it starts at $75 and it goes up to, I want to say, $125. So you can pay what you want. But she also has, I know one spot's already taken, I think, but she had 2 scholarship spots, so that if you can't afford those prices, you can contact her and find out how you can apply for those 2 spots that have a scholarship attached to them. The key with this is because it's a Zoom class, you cannot watch it later. That's what but the office hours, I already have one student that did sign up and that she's not going to be able to attend 1 week. So she is going to do office hours with me, where I'll do an abbreviated lesson for her during my office hours. So there is that. So that's kind of what's happening. It's going to start again on the 12th, which is a Saturday. It's 10:30 to 10 to 11:30. Let me just verify that on my calendar here really fast. Yeah, 10 to 11:30 at Pacific time. So Eastern would be 11, 12, 1:30, 1 to 2:30 Eastern. You don't have to live in Washington to take the class. I have people from all over the country who are taking the class. But if you're really interested in it, definitely talk to Lindsay and get signed up, because we do have a few spots left. And I'd like to get as many students as I can, because she is paying my full course price for a 6-hour class, and I'd like to have that class as full as possible. So it helps her as well. I mean, all shops these days are having a little bit of a struggle with the shutdown. So I want to make sure that my favorite shop, even though I don't live there anymore and I can't go see her, she can stay alive and stay open. So this is going to die here in a minute. So if you don't have any questions, let's see. Math was my worst subject. Teacher lowered the curve to 65 or no one would have passed. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. See, math was always my favorite subject. I was a computer science / business major in college. So math was always my thing. I don't have questions yet, but yeah. Definitely, if you are doing the crochet along, I know I have some cough drops over here, but I just didn't want to be sucking on a cough drop while I was talking to you guys. If you have questions about the Mystery Crochet Along, go into the forum. What I'm going to try to do is keep all the conversation for each week's pattern in each week's, when I drop the pattern, that'll be our conversation thread for that week. I don't want to keep a general one going, because I want to be able to not get lost in it. So every week will have its own. So if you're behind a week or something, post in the first week in the week that you're working on, let's put it that way. Yeah, so definitely ask me questions. If people are struggling at any point in the Mystery Crochet Along, I'm going to try to do videos like this every week, depending on how my voice goes. I'm hoping by next week I won't be like this. But I'm going to try to do video every week. Maybe not as much as I did today to get started, but at least little tricky bits of the pattern maybe as we go along. But if people are struggling with any part of it, I may offer some live Zooms that we can do, maybe an hour long, where we can, or 40 minutes. We can talk about the little tricky things. Oh, wow. 180 words per minute. Wow. That's fast. That is fast. Typing, I've gotten typing down faster as I got older, but I was never fast. Arthritic fingers. Yeah, I understand. I have arthritic thumbs. So that's why I hold my hook 2 different ways when I'm crocheting, so that I can relax the muscles in my thumbs. So anyway, anybody else have any questions for me? I know there's still a few of you here. If you don't, I will see you on the forums. But I'm gonna go ahead and go, because I do definitely need to get that cough drop in my system. So I will see you next week. It's you in the forums, and I hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.